Hi my friends, welcome back to another tutorial. A little late this week. I'm going to try something very different this week. It's a very nice subject. It's something I've wanted to do for a while. It's just basically like a book on a table with a candlelight next to it, a kind of maybe a glass of wine or something like that. Very dark, very moody. Something that you could just learn a lot of techniques from. More, you know, it's something different from the landscape, the freedom that you get from a landscape. This is something more kind of detailed, something more intricate, something more intimate, if you will. So something that you can really kind of get your teeth into and spend a lot of time working on. Maybe do a bit every week, something like that. I'm going to do a little bit, maybe for 2 or 3 weeks, just do a bit every week and see it come together, and then we'll frame it and hang it in the house somewhere. So now what I have here, let me show you. I have a canvas. I gave this a wash of like a burnt umber, burnt sienna, a very light. Now what I done was, first I went over this entire canvas with a burnt sienna. I think it's 24 by 20, something like that. It's a nice size canvas, it's a big enough canvas. So I went over this with a burnt sienna, a very watery burnt sienna. Then I mixed in a little tiny amount of burnt umber, and I put that over it. Then I put a kind of a hint of black in as well, just to kind of darken it down really dark. I don't want pure burnt sienna, because I find this burnt sienna on its own is very warm, very orangey kind of a brown. I wanted a kind of a nice dark kind of a nice dark base coat for this underpainting. So I just went across with my big brush and just very loosely, very watery, side to side. I let this dry for 2 days. So I did this 2 days ago. This is a stretched canvas, by the way. Okay, stretched canvas, not an expensive one. So this will give us a nice base to work on. And there's a picture here of a candle. I'm kind of going for this kind of mood. Okay, that's the kind of mood I want to get in the painting. But there's going to be like an open book next to it, open both sides. Maybe a glass of wine or a bottle of wine or something like that. So that's what I'm envisioning. Okay, I don't know if you can envision that or imagine that. That's what I'm going to do. So we can walk away every week, do little bits and get some really nice detail going. So let me know what you think about that. But I'm going to try it. Let me just fix this here. We did have some bad news recently. This light is very bright here. Let me see if I can get that a little better. That's better. We had some bad news yesterday. Well, a few days ago, because you're watching this a few days later after recording. Our cat Susie passed away. She had to be put to sleep. She was 15 years old and she was like the baby of the house. She was with us for 15 long years. It was just her heart was just giving up, and you know, we could have treated the condition with tablets. We may have gotten a couple more weeks out of her, but we were advised maybe it's more humane just to put her to sleep, put her out of her suffering. So we did. We took the decision to put Susie to sleep, a little ginger cat, and everyone in the house is really heartbroken because she's just missed so much, and it's just not the same. You know, people grow attached to their pets so much, and they become like children to us, and she was like a child to us, you know. She was with us for 15 years. So it was very upsetting, it really was. But we were there with her, and I'm glad we had the opportunity to be there with her when they were giving her the needle and putting her to sleep. So we were there next to her, you know, holding her and stuff. So it was nice. It was nice to send her off in that way, but still very sad, you know what I mean? If you have animals and you're an animal lover yourself, you know what I mean exactly. So it's just like there's something missing. Now, I know time is a great healer. We move on and we get on with things, and time will heal. But it's difficult, you know what I mean? So a little bit sad this week, but I'm going to get into this now and you know, really go for nice warm deep colours. So I hope you enjoy it. If you want to follow me along, you can. I will be taking my time, going very slow, okay? Nice and slow. Oh yeah, I wanted to show you a painting I've done on Patreon this week. This is it here. It is a tutorial on painting grass. So one of my patrons was looking to get ideas how to paint tall grasses on a seaside by a beach kind of effect. So this is what I'd done. Isn't that lovely? It turned out really well. A nice tutorial on grasses, creating long tall grass. Just a nice simple tutorial. So that's over there on my Patreon page if you want to go and take a look, okay? I just thought I'd show you that because I'm really happy. It turned out really nice. Okay, let's crack on here and have a bit of fun with this. Now, it's very, very cold and damp here in the studio. Let me show you what it's like outside. I don't know if you can see that now, but really cold and damp and windy. Everything is wet. It's a very, very rainy day. So the studio is very, very cold and damp. I think I'll just bring everything I have here into my kitchen inside, where it's nice and warm and cosy. The lighting is not great, but I can adjust it slightly with my camcorder. So look, I'm going to go to my kitchen and get set up. Let's see how this turns out. I'm very excited. It's going to be really nice and very relaxing as well to paint. So don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Okay, here's the picture. Now, I've sketched everything just very lightly with some Naples yellow and a pointy brush, okay? There's the photograph. I hope you can see that okay. I think it's up in that corner. I'm not too sure. But a lovely warm picture of a lamp with a kind of a book opened, some books in the background, very dark, deep colours. So let's see if we can just have a bit of fun with this, okay? Something different, just that you can try and take your time. I'm going to start with this dark background up here, okay? Now, as you can see, I did say earlier, I put a very dark wash on the canvas, so that will help bring out the rich darkness of these colours. I'm going to dampen my brush with some turpentine, my large stubby brush, and I'm going to start with some black, a little black, some burnt umber, and I may even just go with that for now. I want to keep the colours really warm, so let's take some cadmium red as well. And you can see how watery that is now. It's very wet, isn't it? So I want to thicken it up slightly. More burnt umber, more cadmium red. And let's just go up here and start filling in this background up here. And I hope there's not too much of a sheen on the canvas here. I'm recording with my phone today because the camcorder I have is not the best indoors. So I'm trying my phone for a change because it has a lot. The colours are a lot brighter on the phone, so I'm trying it just for a change. Now, some black with a little crimson, because I really want to cover this nice and well here. And come along the top. This is still quite a thin mix. I could probably even go over this again later. But let's just kind of carry on. I kind of prefer sometimes to put on thinner layers rather than trying to go right on and get the exact colour the first time. Sometimes it's much easier to just put on thinner layers as you go. Now I'm going to add some just burnt umber on its own as it comes across. And you can see these books up here, they almost sort of disappear into the background. Isn't that right? Let's take some cadmium red, and I'm going to put some cadmium red just up there like that. Soften that across. As it comes across, it kind of warms slightly, doesn't it? And another thing to bear in mind is you don't have to copy this exactly. So I'm not going to put these books all the way up. I might go most of the way and then kind of soften the books into the background. Does that make sense? You know, it's up to yourself. You can make this up as you go along. And you don't even have to do all of this. You could just do a book on its own. That would be quite nice too. So, right, let me see now. I'm going to, for this lighter colour, I'm going to take some burnt sienna into that mix. And I'm going to take a little cadmium yellow. Okay. And I'm just going to kind of lighten it. In fact, you know what I will do? I'll take some cadmium yellow and cadmium red, okay? With a little amount of turpentine, a tiny amount just to loosen the paint out, just slightly. But there's plenty of red in this. So I'm going to go with this nice warm colour for now, just over in this corner here, okay? And then take some cadmium red and sienna, just on the tip of your brush, and soften that into the brown. You don't want to put your yellows into the brown because you get a kind of a very muddy colour. So I'm going with red and a little burnt sienna. So you can see now it's starting to kind of lighten over that corner nicely, isn't it? There's a nice glow up in this corner. So what I'm going to do next is just keep going with burnt sienna perhaps, and I'm going to keep adding little touches of burnt sienna into this. I don't want a completely smooth background. I want it just a little brush strokes here and there. So let's go burnt sienna. Let's try a little hint of Naples yellow actually, and some cadmium red. Those three colours. Just paint on its own because I already have a nice wet layer. So just paint on its own, you see. You can soften that in, and that paint will have more of an impact because it's just paint. It won't disappear into the colour underneath too much. Let's go more burnt sienna. Let's take a hint of cadmium yellow in there as well, just to lighten it slightly. And this kind of fuzzy background will give a nice effect, I think. Okay, I'm just flicking my brush left and right, left and right, left and right. Or up and down even, up and down, just crisscross all the way. Okay, that gives you a nice smooth effect, but it's not completely smooth. Let me just stand back and take a look at this. Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah, that's okay. I will go nice and dark over in that colour, so that corner, so I'll just dampen my brush, take off some of that brown and go with some black on its own. So I'm going to go with just black now, and I have almost just paint on my brush, okay? Nothing else, just thick black paint, because I really want everything to disappear into that darkness over there. So we have a very contrasting painting, very lights, very yellows and very darks. So that will look stunning in a nice, perhaps a gold frame, a dark brown frame. But whatever frame we use, it's going to look stunning, I think. I'm just going along to the edges of my books, and I'll come along the front here. The front here kind of goes into a warmer colour, doesn't it? So I'm going to take some red with some sienna, put some red and sienna just on my brush across there like that. I'm not too worried about the bottom here, okay? Let's just soften that across into that dark colour. Okay, like so. And I'm just kind of concentrating on blocking in this background really. That's my only concern at the moment. I'm just going to soften that black around here and there. You see, and we can put more black in later if we feel we need it. So that's the nice thing about the oils. It'll still be wet and we can put more in if we feel we want to. Okay, I'm happy enough with that. I'm just going to give my brush a wipe on some tissue just to take off the excess colour, and I might start working on these books here. So what I'm going to do is make, it's a shadow colour for the sides, but there's some lights hitting the books here and there, warm glows. So I'm thinking warm colours all the time. So I'm going to go with cadmium red and a little crimson, perhaps just for in here. Let me just get that in first, and I'll put a slightly darker colour, maybe some burnt umber with sienna on the bottom book down here. And then what I'm going to do, look, is I'm going to soften them out into that black. Look, very gently. Isn't that a lovely effect? So they're almost kind of disappearing into the background. I like that. That's quite nice. I really like that. I might put a hint of a one just in here as well, look. And then soften it down. Okay. Looking good. Looking good. The top of the book, I may just make it very dark. So maybe perhaps just a black. A little bit of black on the brush. Okay. And I'm going over my white lines then, you see. That gets rid of those white lines. And it's going to be very flat, a very flat rectangle. And it's going to soften off into that distance then, you see? Again. So how's that? So then you're just getting a hint of the shadow side of the book, the top side. But it's not very prominent. Okay, let's kind of work on some of these. I think we should go into some of these. I'm going to switch brushes. Switch to a nice little flat brush. It's not perfectly flat, look. This will do fine. I'll dampen that. And looking at the books, you can see there's a hint of a green, but I'm going to make it like a very dark turquoise green. First, I'm going to put in the dark colours. We have some nice rich browns in there with some hints of red here and there. So let me just, first of all, get these white lines covered and get the general shape of the book, okay? We could even put in a hint of sienna, or even, look, a hint of crimson, perhaps for the bottom one here. And I'll leave a little gap for the turquoisey colour, and perhaps even take a bit more of the red, put in a hint of red, because the outside binds on these are kind of different colours here and there on the book. So we can take our time now and work on this and put in some nice colours. Let's put a couple of darks up on top. And then let me take a little, perhaps even a little black. We have a nice dark shadow there. Look, you see that shadow? That's a very rich shadow in there. Nice contrast. It comes up, it sort of just disappears, doesn't it? Okay. Now I know this is all, you know, you're looking at it and you're thinking, no, it's kind of not working, or this, you know, it's a work in progress. This is going to take a long time, this painting. So I'm in no hurry. Let's take some cadmium red and some cadmium yellow. I'm going to put a nice rich colour, a bit more cadmium red I would say, even a hint of sienna. This very rich orangey colour, I'm going to put that in here. And when I'm painting this, I'm turning the brush around in that kind of effect as to give the effect of the curvature of the book, of the outside of the book, you see. That really helps tell you which direction the book is going, doesn't it? And what I can do then is with that colour, little cadmium yellow and cadmium red, I could even add a hint of warmth here and there across the centre of these, look. So let's imagine that light is coming up and catching the very centre of the spline of the book. Does that make sense? And we put another very rich one just along here, okay? Just like that. Catching it here and there. Now, and then I'm going to take a little red. I can see a little hint of a warm colour just along the centre of that. Up there, okay? So it's coming together slowly. Now I'm going to switch brushes. I'm going to take a nice little flat kind of a brush. There, I have a nice little flat brush here. A medium kind of a flat brush, and the number 6, okay, to be exact. And this will give me some more definite brush strokes. Some burnt umber with cadmium red. And I'm going to, let me see now, let me just darken some of this here and there, okay? Burnt umber, cadmium red. And let's give this one, you see some of the books may not be curved, some of them might be just flat, a flat square kind of a book. Does that make sense? So you don't have to have curves all the way. In fact, I think this one is a flat book actually. I'll make this one a flat book, so I come straight down. I'm going to pull everything else straight down, look, vertical. So no curves in this one, all right? Then I'll take a little cadmium red, perhaps a hint of crimson, and I'm going to warm this book. And I'm going to put some darks into this with some burnt umber. Let me take, in fact, I can see this book turns, so I'm going to start it here, and then I'm going to turn the book. So the dark side goes over like this then, you see? And I can always fix the one above it then with some cadmium red and a hint of Naples yellow. And what I can do then is make that curve like this and pull that out like that, okay? So I just used a warm kind of a pink. Okay. And again, don't worry about details. You can do details another time. You can sort out details anytime you like. Let's take some burnt umber, and I'm going to darken some of this one up here. So just burnt umber. And we're starting to get the shape of the book now, aren't we? Much nicer. I will put a hint of a turquoise in this book as well, but I'll just put in the burnt umber first, okay? This is so nice to be able to paint something like this and just take your time and see it coming together. It's a real treat. It really is. It's a break from landscapes, because landscapes, I mean, painting landscapes is fantastic, don't get me wrong. I love painting landscapes, but this has a much more relaxed feel about it. It's really, really nice. Now I'm going to take that top one up there. Okay, I'm going to mix a turquoise. Let's mix a nice turquoise. I'll try. I'll take a hint of phaylo blue. I'll take a hint of cadmium yellow. And it's a very dull kind of a turquoise, isn't it? A hint of black. Let me just try that. No, I think it needs a little hint of Naples yellow in this, just to lighten it ever so slightly, to help it stand out. It's like an emerald kind of a green colour. Okay, I don't know if that makes sense. You see? It's that kind of emerald green kind of a colour going through it. Really nice. I really like that colour. And this lovely cool colour will work lovely with all these worms around it. So let's put another one here. Put another one here. And the fantastic thing about the oils is, as you're going along, is picking up different colours from underneath. See? Softening together. Isn't that lovely? Let's go and do a few up here. Because I reckon these books are like a set or a pair of books. And I really like this colour. It's a lovely colour. You see, and the sienna underneath, that dark brown underneath, it really helps. That's quite nice, I like that. I'm very happy with that. Let's take some burnt umber. I'm going to go in here and start darkening it in where it sort of meets the shadow in here a little bit. So you have a very strong shadow in here, and just lots of lines coming down like this and into the shadow, okay? So it's disappearing. I'll take some cadmium red and put some cadmium red down here where it gets warm and goes into the shadow down here. Oh, I forgot that was an upright book actually, wasn't it? We said that was an upright book, so let's just pull that straight down. And I'm going to pull a couple of dark lines down through that as well. Okay, just one or two here and there. Just to give you the impression that it's a vertical book. There's darks and lights on the edge of the book. You see? And then I'm going to put another one just underneath. I can see a hint of another book just underneath there. I will put a dark line first in between. Okay. Then a nice rich orange again. I'll make this one a curved book, all right? And that just comes down like so. Now what we need to do is, I'm going to take a small pointy brush, okay? Small round brush, nothing too kind of, let me find a nice one now, nothing too pointy, a nice size. Okay, let me see. Look, I'll go with this one here. It's not excellent, but it'll do for what I want, just for now. I'm going to dampen that, take a little burnt umber and a little black, okay? I'm going to go in here, just on top of this book, put a darkness across. Now you need plenty of turpentine in this, for this to work. So a nice solid brush stroke, that's what we want. Okay, like so. And we put another one under here, slightly thicker one. See, now we're starting to separate. The books that little bit better. I'm going to come out here. What I'm going to do actually is, this one is going to be sticking out slightly more up here, so I'm going to come out with this line, okay, just a little bit more, and I'll fix it in just a moment. And then we have another one above that. Now I'll go to a slightly pointier brush, get some black with some turpentine, lots of turpentine, and I'm going to just separate those ones like that. See, now it's starting to look like books, isn't it? And I'll put another one like that. And soften that off with my finger, just blend it out. Okay. Now we're starting to get the effect that we wanted. Then I'm going to create the edge of this book down here, okay? Like that. Now what I'm going to do is start adding little details, you see? It could be little letters, little writing. You can't see because it's really dark, but there will be a hint of just some little writing or even just dark lines on the edge of the book. But I'm keeping it simple, you see, just like that, nice and simple. Let's go to the one above and let's put a couple, let's see now, I'll put a nice little finishing line along the edge of that. Perhaps a one here where there might be a slight shadow being cast from the bind of the book, the outside. Is that what it's called, the bind? I think. Okay, and let's put a slight shadow up there. You'll find that. So it's just about adding little touches of detail, just small touches of detail. You see? Just to tell you that there's stuff going on. Then I'm going to take lots of watery black and I'm going to just refine the shadow in here. Now it's a funny shadow because it softens into the book. It's not a harsh line on the shadow. It kind of softens in slightly, doesn't it? And it kind of disappears. So it's not a very, very harsh line. Okay. Now I'm going to just hit some of that with some lights. I'm going to take some white, a little touch of phaylo blue, okay, and a little touch of Naples yellow. And I want to just hit some of that turquoise with some lighter colours, just here and there, especially along the centre where the light seems to catch. You see, just a little bit more along the centre, that's all. And I'll go up here, pop a little Just there, you see, it's just a very subtle amount, just to catch the light. And I'm going to do the same with some of the yellows. I'm going to take some cadmium yellow, some burnt sienna, and a little white, okay? And I'm going to just perhaps just suggest the light catching some of this. Perhaps one or two here too, look. You see? And it's softened them. The finger just like that. Now we're starting to get a nice kind of a glowy kind of effect up there, aren't we? Okay, I want to just darken some of those. I'm going to take some crimson with a little of the black, and I want to darken some of those, just a little, okay, where they go into the dark. Give it more of that kind of effect. Okay, that's a bit nicer. Should we work on some of these books or should we not? Now, what I might do, just to push those books off slightly into the distance there, okay? Now, I've just seen something that I want to do. I just want to put a hint of light up here. Okay, just a hint. What I was saying was I could use a fan brush and even soften those around slightly. Look, that will push them off into the distance and even pull some of the dark colour down as well. That dark brown line. So I think that will help give a bit more depth and mystery to those books. What do you think? I might warm this one in here. I'll take some cadmium red with some burnt umber. I'm going to warm it and warm this one as well also. And then even take some burnt umber with sienna and pop a touch of that in. I think just as it comes into the shadows, it's going to be slightly warmer, isn't it? And then let's just take a hint of black. Put a hint of black in there like that. Okay, I think that's nicer. It just gives it a nicer effect. And I'll just pop that line back in there, look, very gently. Now, let me stand back and take a look at what we have done with these so far. That's not bad, is it? That's quite nice. It's a nice, I like that effect. I might just add a little warm colour to this, maybe just here and there. It seems to be a little on the bright side, I suppose, is it? Just a little warm, just to dim it down slightly. And let's move on and do these books, I think. Should we do these nice warm colours? I must get some cadmium red for my palette. Onto these books up here. And again, let's just block these in with, now these are very warm colours, so I'm going to take a lot of orange colours in this. Lots of cadmium red, lots of cadmium yellow, and I'm going to start with that, okay? Let me just have a look now at this. I'm going to start putting in just some of these books with this. And we need to create a nice glow from this candle, okay? So this candle is casting a lovely glow over on these books. A little bit more red, that's quite orangey. A little bit more red, and let's just go along and fill each one. Just fill in each book. Okay, let's just go along the outside here. Leave a little bit showing through inside there. Okay, now there's this big piece of this candle holder here, so I'm just going to go right through that, look. just for now. Let's take more cadmium red and some sienna, because it's really warm up here. And don't worry too much about the outside edges of the book. Do not try and paint all these. We can paint these in a moment, okay? Let's take some of that. And now it's up to ourselves how far up we can go, or we want to go. We can go all the way, or we can stop. I'm going to stop just one book above these ones here, okay? So a slight curve and bring that across. It's going to darken then as it comes up, isn't it? So I'll dampen the brush, take some crimson with some sienna, and give it a nice warm, rich, reddy brown. And then I'm going to put some burnt umber up on top. All right. Then I'm going to let that soften in above. It's going to come over at a slight angle. So imagine that's the top of the book. You can just see the top of the book ever so slightly. All right. Now let me sit back and have a look. Yeah, that's quite nice, isn't it? I'm liking those colours, and what I want to do is transfer some of those colours over here, because I can see it needs to balance out. It needs to, you know, it'll help the composition. So if I take a little bit of the cadmium red with the yellow, for instance, okay, just a touch, and if I bring a touch of that, say, let's say over here, okay, just imagine that light is putting the glow over here onto some of these. So you see, they're never really finished. You can keep coming back to those as much as you want. No, isn't that nice? It just adds a little touch of warmth to them. Little touch along up there. Perhaps a little just there. Now, that's much better. Next, I'm going to go along and just refine the edges of these books, okay? So let's take some cadmium yellow into that little bit of red that we have. It's kind of an orangey colour. Let's just, now, these are kind of almost facing us, so they look flat, but they're actually curved, okay? So I'm going to put a very slight curve on some of them, all right? And follow that curve across. Again, a slight curve. Follow the curve across. It just kind of makes more sense. You could, let's put a curve on this one. I can make the next one maybe flat, just to suggest that that's the flat book, maybe. So maybe just make that one flat. Okay. And I'm going to start darkening slightly. I'll take some sienna with some crimson, and I might use that colour then just to start darkening some of these. Perhaps take some burnt umber, and I put a little bit of burnt umber between some of these books. These flat-tipped brushes are brilliant for this kind of work. I'm going to put a little bit of a dark across here and in slightly, okay? All right, then I'll take some sienna and I'll go up to this top one and give that some nice rich dark colour. Some nice sienna. So you see, we have some thick books and some thin books. Yeah, just keep standing back, keep checking. It's very, very important to keep checking. Now I'll take my small pointy brush, I get some burnt umber with a little black, okay? And lots of turpentine in this. Let's put some darks between some of these. Alright, just a little bit there. Follow that across, like so. Again, some burnt umber, rich burnt umber, and we'll go just like that. See, it's almost kind of disappearing into some of the colours, which is lovely. Gives a lovely effect. And get a little bit black then, so I'm changing from brown to black, brown to black. A little bit of black in here. And I put a little bit in here for this one. Now we have a nice stack of books there, don't we? Now the next thing I'm going to do is start adding some colour to those. Okay, let's go with some nice brights. I want to get some brights to glow off of this, okay? So a nice clean brush. Let's get some cadmium yellow with a little touch of cadmium red, okay? I'm going to start with that. I'm not going too bright too soon. And I'm going to start with that colour. And for me, it's all about simplifying. So I'm concentrating on just this section, okay? I'm not worried about anything else. It's just these books. It's like a painting in itself, as if I'm just painting a picture of books. So I'm just concentrating on this area, nothing else. Does that make sense? Bit more yellow. Let's give this one a nice punch, nice bit of a glow here. Okay, a little bit of it glowing behind. Let's take another hint of cadmium red with yellow. Perhaps a hint of white, just a hint. Just to brighten the orange ever so slightly. In fact, let's make this one straight. Look, let's go straight with this one. All right. And I keep cleaning my brush. I want these colours nice and rich and vibrant. Some more yellow. Pop a little yellow on its own around there. Because the glow will be in the same position going up the books. Okay, so the glow will be in the same area. So just like there, a little bit there. And a little bit, let's say a bit more red towards the top, I would imagine. A little bit just there. Okay, does that make sense? And it's all a work in progress. Remember, you're not going to get it right exactly the first time. It's bit by bit. Adding a bit of bright red in here now, look. Because as it comes up, it gets darker and warmer. Okay. And if anything, if you don't want to try and paint something like this, just so you can enjoy watching it, watching the process, isn't that correct? Let's warm this one up just here, adding some nice warm tones through these books. A little bit of cadmium red, again with some sienna, and put a bit of darker shade just here and there on this. Cadmium red with sienna is a lovely combination, it really is. Now, let me stand back and look at this. Okay, That's not bad. The next thing I'm going to do is take my fan brush again and just soften some of these together with the fan brush like that. Look. Soften the brush strokes together. You see? That makes a difference, doesn't it? Then I'm going to just again refine some of the edges. Now next I'm going to add some light. I'm going to add a little hint of light to some of these. Again, like I did earlier in that one. And I may add more lights to that as well. I'm going to take a very bright orange. A little hint of white. Okay. And I'm just going to pop a few. Just like that, okay? And a couple up here. And especially behind the lamp, where it's really bright, okay? And then I might take a little bit of that. It's just cadmium yellow with a hint of red in it already. A little hint of that just here and there, okay? Now, just soften that with the brush. Okay. And to really give that some punch, the last thing I'm going to do is just take some cadmium yellow, thick paint with some white. And this is probably the last step on the book, just to really give it some standout colour, look. And then soften that back in again, just slightly. And move on to our details then, okay? Little details, a few little details. I'll take some burnt umber, for instance. And again, I'm going to just refine some of those little lines, okay? Let's just go across. Pick out some of our lines. And let's go up top. No, there we are. Then I'm going to start adding some of the little details, some of the books, okay? You can see some of the bands coming down. Let's take some, let's go for some burnt sienna. You can see some of the darker bands coming down, look. It's just to add a little bit of detail, that's all. Okay? Just don't be too particular, don't be trying to put in every single detail on the book. This one is a straight book, so let's just put a couple of dabs here and there. It could be to suggest, as we said earlier, little bits of writing or something on the book. It could be anything like that. This one could have a couple of little lines coming down. Because they are all different books after all. Let's put a little sienna and red on some of them. Give it a hint of a warm colour. It's coming together, isn't it? It really is. I'm going to add some burnt umber to the top one. Let me just pick out, again, the top of that book first. Okay. Like that. Then I'm going to just take some burnt umber and pop a little burnt umber in here and there. Because it's sort of up in the shadows, you're not going to see much on it, really, I don't think. Okay. So I'm just looking. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's not bad at all. I'm happy enough with that. I'm going to soften these shadows out just a little bit more. Look, soften that off into the distance. Now I'm going to stand back. Don't worry, I'll clean my hands very well when I'm finished. It's not a good idea to have paint, lots of paint on your hands. Let's take a little hint of Naples yellow. And I'm going to just pop just a hint of 1 or 2 lights, as if they're just little light lines on the edge of the book. You see, just kind of here and there. Just to help make that light area pop a little bit more. You see, I'm not copying the photograph exactly. You don't have to copy the photograph exactly. It's completely up to you. It's your painting. Okay, just soften that one in there. Okay, like that. Then just fix any dark lines that you may have painted over. Look, you see, just a bit of dark across them. And you can keep doing this as much as you like. Put a couple of darks in here. And my friends, I am very happy with this so far. I only wanted to keep it simple anyhow. So I feel I've achieved what I wanted in this short lesson. Let me just stand back and have a nice look at this. Okay, that's not too bad, I must say. It's not bad at all. Let me zoom in if I can and show you with the camera on the phone. It's not a bad camera, is it? It's okay. Let me just take the camera off here and move over. There we are. A nice hint of that turquoise. That's quite nice the way the light catches it. You know, it's very nice. You could actually, if you want, put another hint just to complement the rest of the painting. Okay, what you could do is just take another hint of that colour. Just a tiny. Let me just mix a tiny bit here. Okay, take another hint of that colour, that cool colour, and just pop a little bit, maybe just there like that. Okay, and you could pop a little. Pop 1 or 2 somewhere up here in the cool areas. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Even a hint of a pale blue, a soft kind of a blue, and that would really complement the warm colours. Okay? You know, you don't have to go crazy with all of this now, but it would just kind of complement colours, you see? I'm very happy with that. And one thing I want to do actually is just on the top of that book up on top, I want to darken that just slightly again. Just feel that needs to be a little darker, that's all. And there we are. Part 1 is finished. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. That was really fun. I really enjoyed doing that. Part 2 coming up very, very, very soon. Don't go anywhere. Let me know what you think. Something different, I know, but it's nice just to take our time and do something nice and slow and easy and relax. So thank you very much for watching. Do subscribe. Any questions, just ask, okay? And I will see you very soon in part 2. Take care.